Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Bianca. If this is your first time, this is my YouTube channel, the official Bianca Media. It's like that on Instagram, so go and follow me there. But if this is your first time, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you watched my first video. It was about my lupus story. This is part 2. So as you can see, I'm back at home, not at my parents' house. Just here. So I'm back at home and we got like a little kind of new setup. I got a ring light here. I'm actually borrowing it from a friend, but I had taken some pictures and I was like, I needed like more lighting, so she let me use her ring light and I was like, well, let me film a couple of videos. And it's time for part 2 of my lupus story. So hopefully you were able to watch my first story just to get a background about how I was diagnosed. And like I said, we're here for part 2 because if you have lupus or if you know somebody with lupus, you know it's never just a straight shot. It's never just the even kill story. Like our stories just go up and down and many roller coasters and hills. So we're gonna jump right on into it. So you may remember from my first video, I started getting lupus symptoms at the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, and it wasn't until the beginning of the summer that I was officially diagnosed with lupus. But even when I was diagnosed with lupus, I wasn't given the type of lupus that I had or how the lupus was affecting me. They just kind of gave me some medications to get everything under control. Then I moved to Washington, D.C. I was in Washington, D.C. and started teaching. So for the most part, like my first year and a half, I was okay. I was on prednisone and I was also on Plaquenil. I was also taking something to help control my blood pressure and my thyroid. So I was on several medications, but still it hadn't been decided yet what type of lupus I had or how it was impacting like my body. Because as we know, there's some type of internal things that are going on. It may affect people's brains, lungs, your kidneys, again, which I ended up finding out, which is how it was affecting me. So I found this book. This was my journal that I started writing in about just the different things I was going through. So it's so crazy that I found this. I was going through some stuff and I'm just trying to find some of my doctor's notes. And then I was like, oh, like I found this. So I started, my first kind of entry was March 2011. Again, for like the first year and a half, I was just taking just kind of those basic medications. And I went to the emergency room. So I'm reading it here. So I don't know if y'all can see that. It's probably too bright. I don't know if you can read it. But anyways, it says March 2011, I went to the emergency room because I had swollen feet. And I remember this because I couldn't even put my shoes on. That's how swollen my feet were. There was pressure in my knees, like my whole leg was swollen. So they were checking for blood clots to see if anything was like that was happening. And of course it came back negative. That wasn't the case. Side note, when I got to DC, I didn't get plugged into a rheumatologist until this happened. So that probably is why like maybe this flare happened, because I wasn't necessarily checking in with the doctor like every 3 months, which is sometimes, how often we see doctors, or if you are having a flare, then you're seeing that doctor every month, or different variation of doctors every month. So also they kind of found out like I was vitamin D deficient after that emergency visit. And then I ended up getting plugged in with a rheumatologist and a family practice doctor up there in DC. April, they were like, okay, we need to do some blood samples and urine samples to see, okay, if you have been diagnosed with lupus, like what type did you have? And again, I didn't know because I didn't get plugged into a doctor when I finally got on my medication in 2009. But I started having lots of fatigue, muscle spasms, and again, kind of just having a major flare. I ended up getting plugged in. My family practice doctor plugged me into a nephrologist. So March, the flare happened. I connected with my family practice and a rheumatologist doctor. They connected me with a nephrologist, and that nephrologist kind of specialized in kidneys and all that, because they had me take a urine test and a blood test, and they found out in my urine there was lots of protein. So it was something going on with my kidneys to where they weren't flushing my system properly. A lot of protein was in my urine. And I'm looking down at my notes if you're wondering. All right. So my kidney doctor basically is like, okay, we need to see what's going on with your kidney. So she scheduled a biopsy. So this is May now. This is my May time frame. And my urine was showing that there was a lot of protein in my urine. So I'm like, well, is it something I'm eating? And she's like, no, Bianca, this is basically your kidneys are being impacted by your lupus. I was having some abdominal pains. What else was I experiencing at this time? I think the swollen feet and all that kind of stuff, that slowly started to go down. I was wearing compression socks. I'm teaching at the time, so I'm standing on my feet a lot. I was trying to find ways not to stand. Oh, there was also high potassium from my blood work. That was also like a red flag for them. So they wanted to make 100% sure that I was going to have to do a biopsy to check my kidneys. In May time frame, I'm reading here, May 25th, swelling in ankles and both feet, extreme back pain. I took some ibuprofen. The weather is warm. However, I was outside. I was not outside. What else? I'm saying I'm extremely emotional and weak. Ugh. It really hurts to kind of read this stuff because like I was going through it. I really was. And I know I'm in better spirits and I'm able to read this with a clear mind, but when I go back to this time, it was really tough. It really was. I think at this time, like I said before in the video, it was really setting in like this is going to impact me for the rest of my life. I'm going to have to really pay attention to this. So it says I'm extremely emotional and weak. The next day, blood work, I'm continuing to have swelling. So I'm starting to elevate my feet at night. And I remember this because I would sleep with pillows underneath my bed or underneath the cover so that I would be able to elevate my feet. Lots of swelling, pressure behind my leg. Because if you have lupus and you have leg swelling, you probably understand like when your leg is swelling so bad, you can't bend your knee. You can't bend at the knee because the leg is so swollen. There's so much fluid in your leg that it won't bend correctly. So that's how heavy the bottom half of my leg was, like at the knee and below, so down to my ankles. I remember if I would put on socks and you take off a sock and then the ring around the sock would like leave a mark on my leg. The compression socks would help some, but for the most part, it was for like, I guess this is now 2 months because the swelling started in March. So for about a good 2 months, I was having swelling up and down. Very irritable, easily agitated, annoyed. I'm reading these notes here. So looking at my notes, it's in June that the biopsy was finally done. And I didn't have to stay too long at the hospital. I think it was just maybe I had to stay overnight. It wasn't like I had to stay there for a week or something like that. It was pretty much a procedure that could be, outpatient type procedure. But they took a sonogram of the kidneys, and this is where they go in and they take a little piece of your kidney to test it, to see what's going on, and be able to classify the type of lupus and how it's impacting your kidney. So that's what a biopsy does, and there's plenty of videos. I wasn't YouTubing back then. It just wasn't like me to be feeling just under the weather. And after being initially diagnosed, I was feeling okay. Like I was going on about my life. I was, first year teaching. I was in this city, okay, grown and sexy. Like, yay, I'm in DC working and I can pay my bills and I'm doing this. I got my own place and just feeling good. And then to be like all of a sudden now, punched again and debilitated like that, but still having to like take care of my life, like be on my feet and do what I have to do. So when I had my biopsy, my mom was in town and she was able to take care of me and be there. I was having, again, still high blood pressure, lisinopril. This was the time when she was mentioning the biopsy, just with my results that were coming in with my blood and urine, was mentioning possibly chemo. Around the time of my biopsy, my doctor informed me I was going to have to be on some type of chemotherapy, either intravenous, through your vein, IV form, or through a pill form. To my knowledge, they still do the same thing, but depending on how far along you are with whatever's happening with your body, they decide, hey, this person needs to come in and needs to get the IV form, or this person, depending on what's happening with them, is okay with the pill form of the chemotherapy that we have to put them on. So June, I write here, successful biopsy. I was on bed rest for 2 days. Before the biopsy, no food after midnight. I was only taking blood pressure medicine the morning of, and then I had to have a ride, which my mom was there. And it says here I had to only stay in the hospital like for 4 hours afterwards to make sure I was okay. So I didn't have to stay overnight, but I remember getting there pretty early. So it was like an extended day. Like once you kind of get in and they check you in, and then you go in and they put you to sleep and all that kind of stuff. And then you wake up, and then, okay, you stay there for a good 4 hours to make sure you're okay. And then you're on bed rest for the next 2 days. I note here, after the biopsy, I started working out, increased my water, and cut salt, as far as to help with the blood pressure. Finally, in July, they got the results back, and she classified me as membranous lupus, class 5, and I was definitely gonna have to take some form of chemotherapy. Based on how much protein was gonna be in my urine, that's when she would decide which form I was gonna take. So it says here, working out, low salt, no dairy, no carbs. We're now in August, so this is towards the end of the summer. This is during my birthday. The 1st through the 4th, I'm having sharp abdominal pain, fatigue, lower back pain, trouble sleeping, feeling bloated. What else is happening? Around this time, this is August, this is when I found out it's lupus nephritis, class 5B. So this is just the type of lupus under nephritis that I have. And lupus nephritis is basically, it impacts your kidneys, which again, they were seeing, because in my urine, they were seeing the protein. They had to take the biopsy. Just the type of symptoms I was having was kind of fell all under those type of that category. What else is happening? August, I had another emergency room visit. Extreme pain in my abdominal area, my lower back. They took a CAT scan, and results showed that there was blood around my left kidney, and it seemed like a kidney infection of some sort. So I received antibiotics and pain medication. August 10th, sharp pain again around my kidney area after working out and running. So I'm noting that. September, swollen ankles and fatigue I'm experiencing. And I think just about like, this is the beginning of the school year, and you know, just how maybe this impacted my kids or my teaching. And this is now my 2nd year teaching, and I came back way better. Like I came back a better teacher. I even taught summer school. So now that I'm thinking about, like, I taught summer school and all this is happening. Wow. And I woke up with a swollen eye. I remember this because I didn't wear my glasses to work, and I rarely wear my glasses except at night when I'm about to go to sleep. So I woke up with a swollen eye, and also this is around the time of my grandmother's birthday, and I ended up wearing glasses to her birthday event. And I didn't want to, but I couldn't put my contacts in. My eye was just swollen. Oh, I forgot to mention, the type of chemotherapy medication I was taking was Cellcept. I was also taking Plaquenil, lisinopril, which is for the blood pressure. I was taking levothyroxine for my thyroid. I was vitamin D deficient, so I was taking a vitamin D. What else am I missing? And again, like, you know, you just heard, there was times when I was sick, and pain medication, so ibuprofen, prednisone. Like I said, I'm taking all of this, and it's just a whole cocktail of medications that I was on. So after reading this, it wasn't until about the following year, 2012, when things just started to level out. And some of the things that helped level everything out, in addition to knowing the type of medications I was taking, was the vitamins that I was taking, and also changes to my diet. That is going to be video number 3. Because I do think there are some things that I've been able to look at here and see, okay, this was an active change that I made that helped curb a lot of my symptoms. This was an active change that I made to help, you know, lower some of the results that were coming in with my blood and my urine and things like that. But as I look, I mean, this was November. The last set of medications they end up putting me on was the Fostelmax Plus D, which was once a week, which is like a high grade of vitamin D. Lisinopril, I'm still taking that. Celsep, still taking that. Levoxythiroxine, still taking that. Plaquenil, still taking that. And then they end up having to do a bone scan, and this was to look at, you know, to make sure that my bones weren't being impacted by the medication that I was taking, because over time, if you take them for too long, it can start to wear down, to monitor any damage that potentially could happen with the medications that I was taking. And also with your eye doctor, if you're taking Plaquenil, that's something that they have to monitor your eyesight to make sure your eyesight's not being damaged by the Plaquenil. Isn't that so crazy? Like, the medications they put you on sometimes even have a reverse effect and start to damage other parts of your body that were fine just before. Like my bones, fine. My eyesight, I mean, I was always, you know, had the need for glasses, but to know that a medication that I was taking to help with the lupus symptoms was now going to affect something else. I mean, it's stressful. So that's my journey in figuring out what type of lupus I was going through and dealing with, and what type of lupus that I have, which is lupus nephritis, and the journey to figuring all of that out, and my first major flare after initially being diagnosed, which was just a whirlwind, which lasted for months, as you can see this book shows. But I'm looking forward to the next video, because in the next video I'm going to share just how my health took a turn, you know, after we figured out what type of lupus I was having, the cocktail of medications that they finally decided to give me, just the holistic approach that I decided to take to really, you know, grab hold of my health and to make sure that I'm on this earth for as long as I can be. And I hope it helps you. You know, there is no quote unquote lupus diet, but there were a lot of changes that I made that I saw had a huge impact on my life, and I hope it works for you. So look forward to that next video. I also got a couple of other ones, some lupus must-haves if you're a lupus survivor, some must-haves you must have for the summer. Drop a line down below if you are a lupus survivor. If you know someone with lupus, drop a line down below. You know, give us a shout out, give me a thumbs up, share the video. Let me know how you've been able to manage your lupus, some things that you do. Maybe I can try to incorporate them in the next video. I'm going to talk to a couple of my other friends, see what they do who are lupus survivors, and see, you know, how they manage their symptoms. But I can't wait to share some of the things that I did to really change my health and change my outlook, and to subside a lot of the symptoms that we typically go through. So if you like the video, thumbs up, share it, subscribe, and I look forward to chatting with you all in my next video. All right, bye.